The kids at Tyler's concert had it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yes, in the front they had the...
Oh.
Okay. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Relebogile Mabotja Podcast. Make sure you follow us on all the socials at Relebogile Pod so that you can be kept up with the latest, but also subscribe and hit the notification bell as we talk to very interesting people. And today we have somebody that I'm so excited to be talking to for a number of reasons. I already know we don't have enough time. I just know we'd probably need 6 hours if we're ready to go into it. Mr. T-Bose.
Don't you feel strange saying your full name?
Relebogile Mabotja. Not anymore, because I had to get into the habit of doing it for radio. Do you feel strange?
Yeah.
But
because remember, I use T-Bose.
So
and now people have given me a name. I'm Uncle T. So.
Oh, Uncle T.
Yeah.
Do people call you Grootman T?
Grootman as well.
As well.
Yeah.
I need what would you give me as a DJ name? As a
DJ name? Me?
What name? I get T-Bose. How did that come about?
Well, T-Bose came about because, remember YFM?
Yes.
There was no I was going to go on YFM. I said, this is Thabo Mokwele, and they on Y. And because, remember, it was more about the streets.
Yes.
So I was like, okay, everybody knows Thabo as T-Bose. It's a street name. It's like Bob for Robert.
So it was your DJ name, but radio DJ name.
Radio DJ name. So, and because of the love of sound and music,
yes,
the Bose at the end, then I stole from the speaker company, hence T-Bose.
Okay, give me a radio name or a DJ name. What would it be instead of Relebogile Mabotja?
Yeah, maybe we should find a Rele and a Boja, put it together.
Reboja.
No, it won't work. It's fine. Leave it. No, leave it. It's
I had
okay.
to get used to saying my name in full.
I saw you and I couldn't sense any tension in you saying it.
Yeah. Practice it. Also, waiting, our clan is so small, Mabotja, that I am holding on to that surname for as long as possible. The late Joe Mabotja.
Yes.
That was my uncle.
Oh, wow.
Small clan.
Yeah.
Wawan.
And then these are northern Sotho speaking people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So Rawatwagwa North.
Guy.
Me in particular, Rejwa Muleji, Mutongwa Perekisi.
Yeah. There's Muleji and there's Mutongwa Perekisi.
Yes. But we will say, yes, that's our vibe. But also, Seshego is our hood.
So, yeah, then if Seshego is your hood, then Muleji is more closer to you then. Yeah. So we are also from Muleji.
Okay.
Because the Mokweles, there's a lot of Mokweles in Muleji. And Muleji is quite big. And there's a beautiful story about that. So there are two lineages that I know of in terms of our history.
Yes.
Mokwele are like most nations that were led by women.
Yes.
So Kgoshi Muleji was the one who basically helped to safeguard Mokwele as she was fleeing from Lesotho, from Mushwesh. So in other words, for her to at least get a bit of a space there, he was like, you're too cute. I'll give you some space, but you know. All right. So there's royal blood flowing in some of the Mokwele. And then there's another lineage that is from the Ndebele side.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why in our clan praises, we'll say Mokwele Mapokorowe.
Oh.
So the minute you say Mapokorowe, we know that, okay, you are then saying we're from, the Ndebele side. And we're spread everywhere.
See.
Yeah, it's quite huge, by the way.
So you know there's a village called Mabotja.
Yes, I know.
And the chief Kimoloto, I'm coming for the job.
Yeah.
So Chief Kimoloto.
Yeah. Just like Rami Chweni must go and claim the Chweni part of the Chweni sport.
Ne.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do have lineages.
I'm so surprised that in knowing you for as long as I've known you, we've never had this conversation.
I get really, it's all about, or people call you Lebs, and I say really. So every time we meet, it's all about work.
It is.
Yeah, and then we meet, hey, this is what's happening, let's do this, done, boom, and then like professionals, we get in and shoot.
Do people know I've been your boss before?
No, they don't. They don't know that you're the queen behind the scenes. And what a boss she is. And by the way, not boss in that sense, like bossy. Boss in the sense that she'll put you in trouble. she'll stretch you. I remember this show that we did.
The Man Council.
The Man Council.
I still, guys, that show, it's,
Yes.
I still think there's room for it.
And she's like, T, they don't expect this question from you, but ask it.
Yes.
Let's shock them a bit.
Oh my, you just reminded me. So I'll tell you guys now, when we did the Man Council, which at the time went to BET for a few episodes,
Yes.
we did a pilot. And I was the person in your ear. But
You're
what
directing, yeah.
the premise of the show was that it is all about sex and adult stuff and relationships and dating.
Yeah.
It was yourself, it was Naked DJ.
That's right.
And it was Kaya.
That's right.
And it was so, I feel like it was ahead of its time. I feel like it was ahead of the time. But we'd have female guests come on and we'd talk interesting, wretched things.
Look, I think that's the thing about you, and that people don't realize, that when you see something in the periphery, you want to bring it closer. You want to bring it to the center.
Yeah.
And I felt it was, for me, it was such a refreshing thing to have on air. But it was ahead of its time because at the time, TV was all about soapies.
Yeah.
Less about talk shows. But you bring it back now because people want conversations. Hence, podcasting is on the rise because people are like, I want to know what people think.
Yeah.
And I think should you revisit that, I think it will have its space and time right now.
I'm going to call you Pepsi Bokani. I'm going to give you a call.
That's right.
So in terms of, I find it interesting that you do talk so well. Why did you never get into talk radio?
I've said no a number of times to talk.
And I'm going to ask you why specifically,
Sure.
because it's not like you don't have room to talk on a music radio station like Kai FM, which you're going to be there 20 years very soon.
Yeah.
So insane. Why did you never get into talk? I feel like, having done now both music and talk gives you the breathing space that I think you are so untapped in. The songs in your show, wonderful, but the T-Bose I know and how you can talk.
Yeah.
Why did you say no to talk radio?
Because it's never about me. When I do what I do is never about me. Even my radio show is never about me. However, being on a music station helps me then to bridge the gap between the music and my curiosity for the people. I'm very curious about what you think, how your day has been as a mother, as a sister, and so on and so forth, right? But when you remove music, I think you're removing the 5D to the 4D. That thing.
That extra dimension.
That's why even now, even with my TV show, The Ones, I will never leave music behind. Why? Because I feel once we know what music you like, there's more connectivity because it's so universal, right? And that's why Kevin Mukari has called, says, bruh, I think you're ready, when he was about to launch Power.
Really?
And I said, I ain't coming.
Really?
He says, why? He says, because you want me to talk and there's no music. Unless you say there's music.
But doesn't Power FM have some music? Yes, they've got talk shows, but they have different types of formats. I'm
not too sure. Maybe it's in the evening.
Yes.
That's not prime time.
Oh, okay. Come on, somebody.
Let's say it, man.
Okay, and I what I like about the space that you've carved out for yourself is you do talk, but you also can do the music thing where you are a DJ, but you also can give, do speaking engagements.
Yeah.
I am curious about your brand and where, now that you've hit 50, what you see for yourself the next 10, 20 years. And if you were intentional about getting to a place where your brand was very much around relationships together with your wife, who I've also worked with, and also was her boss.
That's right. That's right.
And we'll get to that another time. But I'm curious, was it something you were intentional about, or was it something that happened organically to say, hey, let's be on the road, let's do this relationship conversation thing, because it's such a big part of what you do?
No, nothing intentional there. Mine and hers is to live our life as authentic as we would like it to be. All we're doing is just being ourselves, right? That's number one. Number two, yes, God planned it. that we must meet via or on radio,
Yes.
which is Metro at the time. And I kept on doing what I do. She kept on doing what she does. And fast forward to us being husband and wife. We are now parents, and we happen to be in this industry called media. We are each other's biggest fans in what we do, because what she does, like I said, I respect people who do talk like you. My first respect is to her, because I don't get it, guys. How you just
No, but
talk.
she is brilliant
How
on
you just
levels.
talk. Come on, how you just talk and able to just basically mine and draw sometimes water from a stone. I don't get it, because sometimes you do get dead topics or dead guests, but you being the glue, you just make it so interesting and keep us glued. I don't get it. 2, everything else that I have done is purely because something every time, because I believe as partners, we owe each other our own self-development. We need to continuously improve. Because when I improve, you can't help but feel like, you know what, I'm with the right person, because what I've invested in keeps growing, right? So in that, you end up just pushing on, and you also know that I have a support system that basically says to me, go on. Whatever it is that you want to achieve, go on and achieve it, right? And in that, you can't help but say, dude, what else do I need to do? And she says, brah, you are relaxing, you are in your comfort zone. You need to aim for something higher. It's like, oh, because sometimes you do have that doubt, you do have that fear, you do have that anxiety about what the future holds. But when you have a friend, because I think that's more important, when you have a friend who is able to like tell you cold face, bruh, you're bigger than what you think you are. You need to tap into this. I think you need to tap into that. What about your passions? A simple thing, for instance. I did a solo trip to Japan not so long. Why? Because I wanted to go explore the world of music there. I'm a vinyl collector. It's a passion of mine. She, on the other hand, she's a runner, marathon runner, right? And she travels the world doing that. She just came back from Sydney, right? Not so long ago, she did Brazil at the same time when I did Japan. But you see, we basically we separated at the airport when she went for Brazil, when I went for my Japan flight, exploring our own interests so that we can grow. From the vinyl thing, then I was able to create an event because I felt music, like love, needs to be shared, right? So vinyl collection, vinyl playing basically says, can we be mindful again about listening to this art form? Because vinyl is not like CD, it's not like digital, players where you can just skip through a song. You need to listen to the whole work, because that's how much work was put in that, right? And then you pick a song from there and then you share it with the people. Soul Plata then came to be, which is a beautiful vinyl, sort of soul session and music sharing, and it's a lifestyle. You come through where I play a song, it reminds you of, your uncle and so on. And all of those things become then part and parcel of who you are without you realizing. 2, I wrote a book, Pause. And the reason behind that book was, it was me just writing my own sort of thoughts.
In reflection. Yeah.
And I'll make her read them. I said, what do you think of this? It's like, bruh, are you aware how many people may be going through what you are going through in what you are sharing? And I was like, but you don't think your voice is authentic enough to be published. It took me a good 10, 12 years for me to even have that published. She was like, I think you need to do it.
But this is why I so admire your relationship, knowing you both individually, knowing you together, that for me, you guys have the complementary formula correct, in that it's not this person completes me, as you spoke about your self-development. You're all pushing your own journeys, but you complement one another. And Musadwa, how strict?
Yeah.
In that, like, her and I have had some interesting questions, but I was fascinated to discover that you were actually married before.
To the same woman?
No, prior to that.
No.
You were not married prior.
No.
There is some piece somewhere that said you were married prior. Because I always said, I've known you guys were married
No, to
more
the
than
same
once.
woman.
Yes, that story I know.
Yeah.
So you were not married
No,
prior.
no.
Okay.
I just had 2 kids before I
prior.
married
Yes.
to Mokwele. Now, here's the beautiful thing. When I met her, she asked me a question that nobody has ever asked me before.
Which was?
She says, what do you want for your house?
Where?
What do you want for
Oh,
your
what
house?
do you want for your house?
And immediately I heard something in me move, and it said, this woman is asking me, how can I help you build a family you want?
Oh.
Meaning, what's your vision?
Yes.
And right there, I then said, my only wish is for all my kids to grow up under the same roof. And then she said, are you aware what you're asking of me? I said, yes. I said, I'll give it to you, but I need your full support. I said, you got it. So we are blessed with 5 children, all raised under the same roof.
Yes.
Do you know how difficult it is?
As a blended family.
To balance that. And you know how amazing and fulfilling it is to hear all your kids when they say ma. It is basically unchallenged who are they talking about or who they are calling. And they're calling your wife.
Do you think that because she's studied psychology, that she came to the table already prepared with certain things that maybe another woman or another person would not have come in terms of her toolkit? Because I mean, when I say Mapaseka is phenomenal, folks, I'm not just talking about her as a broadcaster. I mean her as a human being. She gets people, she reads people, she's super intuitive. She is super special.
Show me a doctor that is able to cure themselves.
Abayo.
Thank you. So there's no way she would have brought that to the table because life is different. She's a depth, she's a well, she is a walking vessel of love. There's no other way of putting it.
So what did you do then about divorcing the first time?
Eh?
About divorcing? What happened?
Busted.
Can I tell you something so fascinating? Her and I were talking about relationships.
Okay.
And I said to her, she's relaying the story of how you guys divorced and when you came back together. But what struck me is how she's like, please no, I knew I still loved him and I knew I would be with him.
Yeah.
However, because I said, don't do this, and he did it, and I had to follow through.
Yeah.
She said, if I did not divorce that man, we might not still be married today. And as I have gotten older, have grown to understand exactly what it was that she was saying.
We hardly talk about the maturity of love. Love, when you read, they say, love them enough to let them go even when you love them deeply. That's the maturity of love. So, in other words, you have to be both mature to manage this dance. Maturity, like experience, you cannot buy it. You need to experience it. So you need to rise to a level, right? Iyanla Vanzant in her book, The Meantime, talks about how the biggest mistake lovers make is that, and she makes an example of, let's say we both are runners, and I run faster than you. The biggest mistake is for me to wait for you. Because you're slowing me down, and I'm going to resent you without me realizing that I'm resenting you. I have to let you go until you catch up.
Yeah. So my question there in that then, and you saying Bustodu, and her following through, because I'm sure there are many individuals who live in some kind of regret or I should have and I could have. What do you think was the thing, other than her knowing she still loved you and you were still her person?
Yeah.
But what was the thing that you think won her back, and from the man's perspective, did her divorcing you work? I'm assuming it worked because you're still together.
It also worked for both of us, because sometimes God makes things so accessible you can easily take them for granted. As a simple example, marriage is a gift, just like a job. A job, especially for you and I in this space, we can easily understand that you can easily take broadcasting / what we do for granted purely because it's laced or it's anchored by passion, right? So it comes naturally to you. You can easily take it for granted. People come to you and say, you only work for 3 hours, then what? And then you start thinking, maybe I should do more, right?
Yes.
And then when you start doing more, it means that you're paying attention to something less important, but you're giving it more importance. Because what comes to you naturally, it is too easy. Maybe that's what I should, find something else to do. So that goes back to that exactly. To say, whoa. When you take this thing for granted, it will shift. It will shift and away from you. Are you aware what this is? It is easy. It is for granted. It's on your lap for a reason. So that you are able to be anchored, have a space, have a place where you work and you are pivoted from in order for you to face this world and become the better version of you. Nothing will reveal who you are like a perfect partner. People want the rosy, want the romantic. Yes, it is there, but not all the time, like seasons. Most of the time, we are on a journey of self-discovery. But there's only one person who will open you up to yourself like a perfect partner, right? So when you are challenged, even in arguments, and this is one thing we tell anyone who cares to listen and we talk to, and I'm glad you had that exchange with her. It's like, do not for a second, when you're in a relationship, expect to be right or insist to be right, especially you talk show hosts, because you think I have an opinion, because, hey, I'm vast. I speak to the naked scientist. I speak to this psychologist. And then I bring this world. Your cerebral power. Come on. It's on. You bring it home. Whoa. You're dealing with your emotional equal on the other side.
Ooh, do you know what else she said? She said, Relebogile, when the divorce papers were there, even when I was putting the ink, I knew I'm going to still be with this man. But if I did not follow through on that part of the process, I did not get it until
Don't start something until you can finish it. And ends up going back to my point. My point is, when you are with someone and you are only seeing the world in binary terms, and by binary terms meaning wrong or right,
good or bad,
positive, negative, you are going to lose that battle. Because if when you're always positive, everything they do is negative. Do you see already you have a problem? Do you see it? And your positive is we must save money, and they say we must invest money, or we must buy this and buy that. To you, because it's a negative in a bank account, you see it as a wrong thing. You don't see it benefiting any of your life. And in arguments, you're always winning the arguments. So why are you with the loser then? Because they're always losing the argument.
The way you've worded it. Why are you with the loser?
Who wants to be in love with a loser?
Okay, I like the exact perspective on how you've put that. In terms of you being on the 5th floor in your life, and I think there are a group of you in the 5th floor in the industry doing what you do, who are at such a advantageous prime time, in the sense that you are able to be youthful but can still bask in your grootmanship, right? And it's very unique to the men that are in the space.
Yeah.
What do you think of us, the millennials, that are, you are abuti, but we're still in the same age group, but also grootmaniaka? What do you think millennials like myself in broadcasting, in public spaces, are, I don't want to say lacking, but could work on to be able, because the longevity is the difficulty, is whose brand Relebogile after 45. There's certain things that you can do as a man in that age that I could probably never do. What do you think that secret sauce or spice is?
The secret sauce is the secret sauce of ages. I got this pearl from Tim Modise without him realizing that he's giving me a pearl, because I was having an interview with him and I was asking him about longevity.
Yes.
And what he said to this day still stays with me. He says, I surround myself with anyone. There's no room too small or too big for me. But most importantly, for my age group, when I'm surrounded by young energy, it's easy to feel like, oh, not the young ones. He then had to check himself, because it's not about them, it's about you. The room is there. You're walking into that room. Are you going to get into that room with a teachable mind? Are you going to go into that room with a Grootman mind? And I can tell you now, the Grootman mind doesn't work.
Really?
No. In essence, I'm saying remain teachable. The only thing that I feel we have done to millennials and those after us is because from home we said, guys, don't be like us. You can be anything you want to be. Show me a door, let me help you to kick it down so that you can walk in. So you've always had support, right? And you always had the best coaches, if you will, from home, from mom, from uncle, from whoever, who said, you can be anything, go for it, go for it, go for it, go for it. But what we didn't say to match that was to say, while you go for it, keep this ear, eye, mind open for new things. Because as we sit here, things are changing. And for you to adapt to those situations, it means you must remain teachable. I walked in and I found you sitting with your team, bolt of energies, young. And I'm glad that I witnessed you saying, what must I do? Most people who have seniority in organizations don't ask those questions because they've got this complex that I am the leader, I am the person. But a leader needs a follower. A follower is a leader too, because they see things you don't see.
Yeah.
So if you're not going to be open to what they say and speak about, you're not going to learn anything and you're not going to stay relevant. Because they keep you relevant. Why? Because you remain yourself open to being teachable. My team is young too. My producer is young. The things she brings on my show, flipping hell. People ask themselves, how did you know about it? I'm like, if only you knew. Thabo.
We have teams.
Thabo is the one. Now I've got one producer. I've always used one producer. And she's a ball of energy, quiet, shy, but flipping hell. The things that she brings, I'm like, where do you live? Where do you get this stuff? And she will then orientate me to it.
Yes.
Sink me into that world. And then I take that and then I go on. I mean, right now we have the pleasure of the net. You go in there and then you immerse yourself. It's like, I can't believe this is happening. Now, I take that curiosity then, I bring it on air, I bring it to every place I am thrown in, whether be it, come, let's have a social drink, or come, let's play a round of golf, whatever. I bring it in there because that curiosity has kept me awake, alert of what's happening in and around me. And I think that's the pearl that anyone needs in any environment, in any industry. Those young ones, bring them in, man.
Yeah. But not just that, I think also, and it's always interesting to hear people's perspectives when they see how I interact with my team. And my biggest thing is everybody on the team has to have a voice. Like, it doesn't matter what their title is. They will all get to have the platform to have an opinion. Have you ever felt insecure and possibly shaken by the various changes that are happening? And that could be on so many levels, technology and just in terms of particularly with our job security as broadcasters. We know anything can happen in radio. You can,
Yeah.
some person from 30 years ago can come and say T-Bose weeds and then crumbling down.
Yeah.
But also because there are so few stable places to be in this industry. So have you ever felt a kind of insecurity, especially with you having been in this? I feel like you carved out this little space for yourself that has been there now for like, we're going on two decades.
Yeah.
And it can be scary, even though great at the same time. Change in management, have you ever felt the pressure and the insecurity?
Yes. Before you're a broadcaster, you're human. And more than anything, COVID, let's start there.
Yo.
Because it's okay to talk about people, to talk about change in that sense. But COVID, more than anything, was a wake-up call. A wake-up call that this is not eternal. This can go away anytime. And that was scary, because whether we like it or not, you and I are in an active income space. You don't work, you don't get paid. Simple. So COVID says you can't do gigs. You can't do extra work. Forgetting that, and that's the thing, it was a reminder that every time you make a little bit of extra, we do the human error of adjusting our lifestyle to that extra, instead of trying to stay to a minimal, comfortable base. And then COVID said, wake up. With little time that you have left, are you going to be comfortable enough to say, should they close that tap? You have something, right? Let's start there. That's the first change, right? Which then opened our minds to so many things. 2, change in management comes, but I always take solace in strategy. Most people work in organizations, but I don't think they make enough time to go up into those offices, the C-suite, and ask questions.
What's the 5-year plan?
What's going on?
Yeah.
What's the plan? What are the numbers saying? Where are you taking this station? Where are you taking us? And I think for, especially the private sector, from the moment I joined Kaya, after Metro, SABC, I felt for the first time I'm part of something.
Really?
Yeah. I'm not just a passenger on the bus.
Wow.
Because of how closely knit it is, 1. 2, you have access. But access needs responsibility, self-management and responsibility. Doesn't mean because the CEO's office is open, you can walk in just blindly and just talk nonsense. It's that 15 minutes, how well are you going to use it? Not only for your own advancement, no, but just to know what's happening in that environment. Because tomorrow, because you asked and you are curious, genuinely so, about what's happening with the business, who are they going to call in first? Right? Not because of your seniority in the building. No. Purely because they value, you might have an insight on something they're not seeing. Or, hey, let's test this idea with this. Mokwele, outlook. Hey, we're thinking of 1, 2, 3. What do you see? What do you think? Onahana. We're thinking of changing the direction musically. What do you think? What is the temperature outside? All of those things. Then you're becoming part of this thing, of this movement. So you start seeing where it goes. You're not just a passenger, right? That helps with the securing who you are in the environment. Another thing that happens that basically just shakes you is what's happening externally. iMusic, Spotify comes on and says, where do we sit as a music station now? Because now people know songs before you.
Whereas before, they had to tune into the radio to find out what's the new thing.
Are you aware, let's use post-COVID, you can't say first time on radio. What? What do you mean first time on radio? Well, maybe first time on radio, but not first time in our ears.
Yes.
So you're not discovering anything. Actually, the listener tells you what's up.
Yeah.
Are you going to adapt or are you going to die? 2, podcasts are getting more airtime, right? Because there's something about it, man. They're getting deeper into conversations. They're revealing things that not necessarily the regulated space can give, right? What are you going to do to fit that mold? Are you going to adapt? You see, how change happens, you survive it by adapting to that change and always trying to keep your eye on the next curve, right? And that takes work. Fresh, I think not so long ago, spoke about it with your colleague on 702.
Yes, he was with Clement Manyatela.
Yes,
Yeah.
he said, people don't realize how much being on radio is a 24-hour job.
Yeah.
That's all you think about.
It's not just the hours that you're on air.
No, you're always thinking about it.
Yeah.
Not only about your show, the show before you, the show after, the station itself. And so you can't help but be part of the establishment, if you will. You're part of the strategy in so many ways. That's why you are able to even engage even at board level.
Yes.
When your chairman invites you for a round of golf, you play, and they start, without you realizing, picking your brain. You better have your game on, because at that moment, this is you being part and parcel of strategy, right? So I'm giving you a long-winded answer in terms of how to deal with those anxious moments when change happens. And what I love about the private sector, be it Prime Media, be it African Media Enterprises, or Kagiso or whatever, is that you have a voice.
We're not stuck behind red tape and processes.
Thank you. You're able to stand and say, no, guys, no, this is not it.
It's so funny you say that, because so many people think at 702 there's somebody there telling us what to do and say.
Who?
Often,
Telling you guys?
Like often, I will get comments when I say something on Twitter/X of people being like, be careful, your bosses you're gonna lose your job. Can I tell you the one time I got called in the office, what it was for, that I said on air, in all of my 11, 12 years of radio?
Wow.
At 702, we were talking about Donald Trump during his first presidency electioneering.
Yeah.
And I said on air that he's a So after I get off air doing early breakfast, Aki Anastasio comes like, ah. So I'm like, what's everybody on about? So I get called into the office. And my boss says to me, and this, people think we get called into the office all the time to be managed.
Yeah.
He says, do you know what means?
Yeah.
I said, yeah, it's an idiot. He's like, oh, no, that's not what it is. I said, what is it? He's like,
It's a swear word.
You know a really bad way to call a woman's private parts? I said, it's He said, yes, it's I said, oh my gosh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
He says, don't worry, when BCCSA comes,
We'll explain.
we'll handle it.
Yeah.
That's the only time.
Yeah.
Even
any else got into trouble for saying it, by the way.
For saying doers.
Yeah, he hit a ball and I was like, come on, you doers. And now I was like, and
but
like
doers
you.
to us as black people, in my mind, is just, you're an idiot.
Yeah, so now you can imagine me as a South African watching that video trending of any else. Come on, Annie's our people. And they're busy beeping it. I'm like, why are you bleeping this thing? Let it go, man. This is us. But talking about, oh, by the way, congratulations. It's very few people that I marvel at, because radio, whether you like it or not, in South Africa is still black and white.
Yeah.
Right. Forget what demographics say, but in terms of the establishment and in terms of the agenda, so to speak, there's white and black radio. And when talking about white radio, 947.5, for instance, right? To find a black person, African black, transcending both sides, it's still a marvel, because you look at the Michael Jordan of radio being Bob Mabena, who was able to do that first, and others of us, obviously, but is a shining example. Then Fresh, yourself, More Flavor, Anele, Sizwe. I'm like, for me, it's a promise of what radio should be going forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why I say radio? Because it is the most resilient of all mediums. All new technologies came, radio still stood.
And you know, it's unique to us in South Africa.
In Africa.
Yeah.
In Africa.
Because radio in other places is going down.
Yeah.
But radio in South Africa is so stable.
Then you need to read about the economics of the bottom of the pyramid. And then it will expose you to why radio it will always be relevant here. Yes, should Africa's middle income change from triangular to a bit of a diamond shape, then we might have a different conversation where we truly have the majority being in the black middle class, then radio might be it. But because we are still a very poverty-stricken continent, access to information needs to be free, right? And it's that freedom that makes radio relevant, and it's still going to be for a while. Other third worlds, if you will, the BRICS, they're also proving to be the same in terms of radio consumption. And that is the very thing that makes it so resilient. But at the core of that is that it is the original social media, the only place where you felt I'm not alone in whatever it is that I'm going through, in whatever language, right? And that is the very thing, like vinyl coming back to be the carrier of music now, radio is going to resurface, even in those first worlds, as, wait a minute, guys, we're throwing out the good.
And also, I think the live real-time engagement is something that a space like this would not necessarily be able to give you. I mean, until we get to a place where podcasting is a live broadcast, or the hybrid, and you take the caller number 2 on the show.
Yeah.
But thank you for that acknowledgement. And the reason I'm gonna say thank you is because I was very intentional about what I did in terms of becoming more crossover, which is the term we use.
Yes.
And there was a time in my career where I was on SABC One and Rhythm City.
Yes.
And I remember when we were sitting doing like my brand Bible and where do I see myself in the next couple of years? And I said, you know what? I feel like I need to be more crossover, and I need to be, also because my life was a crossover. But I'm at private school,
That's right.
you know, during this. And I'm like, I feel like I've got more to offer.
Yeah.
So when the radio seed was planted in my head, because my parents were always listening to 702, I was like, okay, maybe when I'm much older, I'll go there.
Yeah.
But then I was like, actually, let me try.
Yeah.
And they were like, hey, when are you an actress, you work with scripts. Even as a presenter, you work with scripts. Do you know how to talk? The way those people are like, come to us when you're much older. And I got my chance when they were like, okay, you say you're ready for this thing. Come. It was a graveyard slot, Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first time. And the first thing I said is, I know nothing. Let's figure this out together.
I hope that's not the day you said it was.
It was not the
on
day
a Christmas
I said
Eve.
it.
Not on Christmas Eve.
But we learn, and it's tricky to be in that thing of what you're saying is like when people are doing, because it translates to other things. Okay, there's this type of event, the demographics are predominantly black. Who are our go-to people? Who are the go-to MCs for this and this and this?
Yeah.
And it's a tricky space to get into in a country that's still very racial in its tone.
I'm glad, because then what you just presented there, it's a master class about, it's not about fame. It's not about building a brand. It's about being intentional about what it is that you want to provide.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a service. And the rest becomes periphery. It will just follow. Because Relebogile Mabotja Podcast, had you started there, it wouldn't be here.
Good point.
So if it was about your name, you wouldn't be here. It was more about something in you that said, I want to be in that space. There's something intentional I need to do to be in that space. What is it? And you worked yourself up to get to that point. And when you got in, the very thing that you then proclaimed became. However, we are in a microwave society. It must happen like this. No. Nothing here happens like this. If it does, it's going to be short-lived.
I actually agree with you about the microwave society. I mean, I saw a conversation online. It was Nadia Nakai speaking about why she feels like the Amapiano genre churns out people so quickly, and in essence, there are no superstars. There's no room to get, there's no time to get emotionally attached to a star. Whereas also the genre lends itself to having 7 people on a song.
Yeah.
Then you don't know who's who in the zoo. And I wondered to myself within this new space that we're going into with how people become famous, how people get out there, which is, you know, a good example is Mbalin Thabo with her cleaning videos. Did we ever think that somebody could get famous just from showing you how to clean things, which I think is a beautiful time. How do you take some of the nuggets that you and I would use back in the day to get ourselves out there, which was you have your tape and like you're going to drop off your demo tape. And I don't know, sort of carry it into the world we're in today, because there's certain things I do miss. I recently spoke to Meg Clementine, you know, Musimani, who legendary actress, comes from the discipline of theatre. Times today, she was telling me how much she hates having to act across somebody who's never had to train, and she's like, "Bang drain." Look, so how are we bringing the worlds together?
I also spoke to On the Ones, the TV show, Ntati Mushesh.
Yes,
my favorite girl. What a sweetheart. She said, people think we are gatekeeping the acting space. She's a theatre actress herself. He says, no, we're not. We just say, at least expose them to some training before they get onto camera. Yes, they bring a following, which is needed, right? If it's an influencer. However, give them basics. The same thing with radio. Give them basics on how to do this thing. Are they talking to a crowd or are they talking to one person? So in radio, saying what you've said, how do you deal with or approach seeing different things with headlines, scandals of colleagues, with seeing colleagues maybe making blunders on air? Like, do you come in and give advice? And do you feel comfortable doing that? Because I feel like we also are in an era where we're a lot more sensitive. It's not as easy to make a phone call to be like, listen, I saw how you're trending, or sharp. Do you maybe want to talk to my lawyer? I feel like we can't really. There's certain people I could make phone calls with. There are certain things you can't involve yourself in, depending. Because remember, there's also interpersonal relationships on radio.
Yes.
There are people you will gel with immediately, and they become, more than just colleagues, more like buddies, even beyond the radio show or beyond the station. You would even chat, right? Two, there are things that within the radio culture, right? I don't know if it happens at 702, where you meet each other in the corridors. It's like, hey, I like what you did there. That was cool. That link right there. Hey, how
I get it. Still, my first person who did that, but it never just came as I like this, was John Robbie, because I was doing early breakfast.
Yeah.
So every morning, he, driving to work, would have an opportunity to listen.
Yeah.
And you'd come and say, I liked when you did X. However, next time, try this. And John Perlman also is like, Please save that conversation. Submit to Radio Awards. So
Yeah.
we do have that safe space to
Is
do
that a powerful thing or not?
For me, because I get anxious if I don't get feedback. For me, the type of leadership I am is I'm not going to invest in you if I don't think you, like, how to say, if I don't think, if there's no hope, I'm not going to take the time to sit
Tell
with
me
you
about-
and guide you. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Tell me about
So
the-
if someone's
yeah.
taking the time to give me tips, it means that they see something in me. To me, that's, I need feedback. Why is that?
Record that, make it a clip. We want to see it as a reel. Because right there is what keeps the magic behind the scenes for the fire you hear on radio. We all come from a culture where radio was taught, and some places still teach it. You are as good as your team. It's a team sport. It's not just about your show. It's a team sport. If I've got feedback, I have to give it to you. You will like some, you won't like some, right? It's not about you. It's about the work, right? YFM, for instance, from 400 plus people who auditioned, 22 were chosen. In that,
You mean back then?
Back then.
Yes.
before we went on air, they put us in an incubation for 2 weeks to learn the craft, to be able to give each other constructive criticism. We critiqued each link. We critiqued how you got into a song, how you hit the ramp of a song. So you can't help when you are listening to, because now you can't listen to any other radio station. You want to listen to your people. Is he doing what is supposed to be done? And then when you tune in and they do exactly what was supposed to be done and they master it, you want to turn the car, run back to the station, rush into the studio because you're just waiting for them to get a break, and then you high-five them. Right? And then we all spread, obviously, into different spaces and radio stations. We took that culture with us, and I'm glad we did. Some receive it well, some don't. Some receive it well in private. In public, they say something different. However, it is the intention behind it. The intention is not to demoralize. The intention to say, bruh, this is a chain, we better be strong. Let's do this thing. You got it. Like you just said, I love what you said. It is an investment which I hope I will also get, because I do get feedback myself too.
Look, and I'm mindful of the fact that also how you present information is important, how you this. But I feel like, and I can speak for, we are at 702 right now with my colleagues. We have all great relationships with each other. And it was not always that way at the station. And, the fact that, Mandy Weed and I have a book feature, which is like, I have an idea, should we do this thing? Like, we love doing stuff together. And I know that it's not always going to be the way things will be, in the sense, because the way I prefer things is not going to be the way you prefer things, and the way whoever else prefers things. But it's weird being that thing where we know the old school stuff, but there's new school.
There's new school.
And
new school will teach you a thing or two too, right? On how to approach certain things, right? Because I have then, what I love about the new school that came to my space and even listening to others, they taught me something. Biographical questions, not the way to go.
What do you mean biographical? Where were you born?
Something I can Google, basically.
No, but I just feel like it's also,
I don't want Googleable stuff.
Yes.
So what is the in-between that we can do? Do you know how brave you have to be to go to a stalwart like Clementine Musimana says, but I want to go in between the stories. I don't want to go to the stuff that I can easily Google. That's why she was able to go there and tell you that how irritated she gets when she meets somebody like that. You can't Google that.
Do you ever fanboy? Because I fangirl. Like, Clementine, I have moments where I'm just like, you know, and you have to switch into broadcaster mode.
Listen,
but do you fanboy for anybody?
I fanboy. I love radio. So especially I listen to people and I'm like, I can't believe you just did that. That is so cool. How come I didn't think about that? Damn, you're so smooth. I mean, Mo Flavor knows it is no secret.
Really?
I'm a big fan of his. I love what Caesar does with mornings.
Yes.
He knows how to divide the room. You know how brave you have to be to just split.
But
the
he
room.
does it on purpose. We know that.
And people
he's
don't know.
He's so people.
He
I
is
think
so good.
People underestimate. Sizwe is exceptionally smart, right? But also, there's not a single thing he does without a reason behind it. There's not a single thing. He's not just sporadic. But because he's smart, he can be sporadic, respond so quickly that things look sporadic. I mean, sometimes I message him like, why are you this person? Like, why are you this person?
And then the response will be, I'm just having fun.
Yeah, like that's
Look, there's so
literally
many
how-
other examples.
yeah.
And then you listen to Radio 2000, Just Dice. He does this music show, nighttime. Yeah. And then you're like, bruh, you just did a weather report 5 minutes long. Weather report, 5 minutes long. And I can't believe I sat through that. And I enjoyed it.
That's a good broadcaster.
Thank you.
That's a brilliant
So you
broadcaster.
can't help but fanboy. You're like,
Please tell me, why did your top 10 stop being broadcast on TV? I used to think this is brilliant. Also,
Yeah.
you never invited me. I'm pizza.
no, I get
What happened?
I get Sanju Role. Obele, I want a new platform. Obele Ponko, no. So there are layers we must cover. I would look on up because keep PR stand. No, my platform is always being to celebrate a person. Well, look, it was a collaboration between Mzansi
Yes.
and the station.
Yes.
The fly on the wall thing.
Yes.
Put it on TV, but it's back.
Nice.
It's
I
on-
liked it.
Yeah, it's on Mzansi Magic and Mzansi Way to every Sundays.
I like it.
So, but in this time, it's just basically like you and I having a chat.
Yes.
And there's a beautiful feel to it.
Yes.
When we tell a story, the screen is telling a story too. And it's, like I said, beautiful conversations about things that you won't necessarily Google, but you just, from there, you're like, wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
And which is, I think, the most powerful thing. It had to come back.
Do you know actually the one time you have interviewed me? Not on Men Council. Not that. Do you know?
Tell me.
It was pre-2010, and we came with some of my cast members from Rhythm City. And that was the first time. I think Fenze was your producer.
Yes.
Oh my God,
Yes.
Fenze was your
Yeah.
producer at the time.
Yeah.
And I remember still being quite green in the industry, being so nervous about, like, it's a radio granted I had been doing it, but still,
Yeah.
it was still,
Yeah.
and I don't recall what happened in the interview. I might have been there with Noktula Ledwaba or one of my
It was
colleagues.
a cast, yeah.
Yes, and we came in. That was the
How did
the
you
one-
feel from my first question?
I can't even remember. I think I remember thinking that it went by so quickly.
Yeah.
And we forget to be guests,
Yes.
and we forget how to be guests.
Yeah.
But that was a time in my life where I was a guest. And I sometimes, in a weird way, miss those feelings
Yeah.
of not being the behind the
Because
scenes
she
person.
got it from the best.
In the tea, the best tea in the city, the best, the absolute best.
Oh,
yeah, I'll never forget that, because
I'm glad. Thank you for that.
it was also so professional.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
it was, the reason that stands out to me is because early in that time in my career, there was a thing where, like you say, the white platforms and the black platforms.
Yeah.
The black was seen like, no, it's Paza shop.
Yeah.
But I remember being like, this is so amazing. The
Yeah.
space is dope. Everything is super nice. As we wrap up,
Yeah.
what is the one gem that you've written a book, you've done television shows, you've done radio, you've been married, divorced, remarried. If you could share one gem with everybody watching right now, and you could have learned it anywhere, and it can be small, it can be big, what would that gem be?
When you submit, commit.
When you submit, commit.
Yeah.
So that's work, relationship, anything.
Immerse yourself, man. Immerse yourself. Get in. Get in. Stop listening to what others say. And not because you don't want to take advice. No. Go in, you're committing to something, submit to it, give it your best.
Yeah.
You can only do your best. And your best will speak for you.
Yes.
And then your best is not as best as it was yesterday. Tomorrow better be better than yesterday. And that's how you keep relevant, isn't it?
Yes.
When you wake up in the morning, you look at your partner, you're like, I'm glad I chose you. And I still choose you. Because this journey, I'm taking, I realize that I'm glad I submitted and committed to you.
Are you giving shellering lessons when?
Kimang.
Are you giving? No. I'm not saying. No, there isn't a specific.
Really.
I mean, in J. Like, are you giving shellering lessons?
Lebza, this question, I feel it is here. Let me tell you, ne? Like the Uncle T, ne?
Yes.
When you just point at Kioli.
Kioli.
Do you know who chooses a guy?
Who?
The guy doesn't choose the woman. The woman chooses the guy.
Of course we do.
Thank you. When you point at Kioli. And then see me at work.
I'll tell you why I'm saying this. The other day we were talking about flirting on my show.
Yeah.
And some people were like, I just have never been able to. And with dating apps, people get straight to business. Yo, your place or mine.
Yeah.
Do you give shellering lessons? And the reason I say, the way you speak, the tone in your voice.
But is the essence of it is how true are you in what you're saying? Are you making? Are you playing a game? If you're playing a game, don't do it, bro. Because you don't know who you're messing with. Imagine Mama Boja, soon to be inheriting land, Hoshimolodo, right? A queen in the making. And I'm playing a game. Later I realized, dude, God gave me a chance to make on a queen and probably be by her side. Because my intentions were not pure, I missed out.
But also, guys, we're old now, ne? I'm about to be 40. We don't play games at my age.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I'll feel like get straight to the point. And I know what you mean. Women in their 40s, they're like, no, listen, stop wasting my time. What are you here for? Bruh, don't fall for that trap.
You must still mag or share.
Have a vision, bruh. Have a vision, bruh. Start by saying, can I know you first?
Yes.
Are you made for me? Are you mine? Because here's can I give you a parable before as a parting shot?
Yes.
A parable is this. The whole vessel filled with water, right? Who's the vessel, who's the water?
Oh, you mean in the relationship?
Yes.
I would say the man is the vessel and the woman's the water.
Why is the woman the water?
Because she is the giver of water's life.
She takes shape.
Pours.
She will flow. She'll find a way. She'll find a path. However, if the vessel is there, she'll take the shape of the vessel. Right? If it's oval, if it's round, if it's whatever, she will take that shape and dwell in it.
But that's why they say the man is the one that sets the tone in the household.
Vision.
Yeah.
Is your intention pure? Because if your intention's got cracks, and she's the water and she fills that vessel, what's going to happen to the vessel? And then the vessel,
yeah.
And you're left somewhere there out and dead. Why? Because you were not ready for this liquid of gold or whatever it is.
This conversation could go on for 7 hours if we wanted it to. Rodman, Rangwane, Malome, Ramukholo, Ankele, Relebogile. Like, I am just so grateful that we've had the opportunity to work together.
Thank you.
I've met your kids are so well raised and brought up. You chose a good woman.
God favored me.
God favored him indeed, and we will be definitely checking out more of your work, listening in. Please keep doing what you're doing. Uninvite when it's 20 years celebrating Go Kaya FM.
Will do.
I will come through there. Please put your comments down in the comments below. Questions down rather in the comments below for Ntate T, and I will make sure that he answers them. Also, let us know who you'd like to see on the podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, and follow us at Relebogile Pod. Till next time.